Welcome to Deep Pockets by Petra Söderling, a conversation about governments, technologies, and innovation. The ongoing season, Winter 2023, is loosely based on my upcoming book, Governments and Innovation, The Economic Developer's Guide to Our Future. The book will be available for purchase in Amazon during Q1 2023. Our theme song is by New Orleans jazz icon Leroy Jones. Welcome back to Deep Pockets, this time to an episode on innovation and education. Estonia is one of those countries that not many people are too familiar with, but have some sort of neutral to positive awareness of. People working in technology or with startups know that Estonia is a real rock star. A country of 1.3 million people has so far produced 10 unicorn startups, including Skype and Pipedrive. They also launched a digital citizenship called e-residency. This is a government-issued digital identity that anyone in any country can acquire. It provides access to Estonia's transparent business environment, a new digital nation for the world. E-resident entrepreneurs from all over the world can start an EU-based company and manage business from anywhere, entirely online. In fact, in 2022, an Estonian e-resident broke the world record for fastest company incorporation ever in the time of 15 minutes and 33 seconds. But this is not what we're focusing on today. I just wanted to give you a flavor of the country before digging into the real meat here, education. My guest today is Märt Aro, an education innovator, edtech creator, and keynote speaker. His long career in this field goes back to 2001, when he became a member of the board of the Estonian School Students' Councils Union, taking off from there through a number of international youth education programs and NGOs into the startup world, and eventually onto the big stages. Welcome to Deep Pockets, Märt.
Hello, it's a pleasure.
So, as I said, my first instinct was to make an episode about Estonia, how it got to be in the top positions in the United Nations PISA ranking for math, science, and reading. And I started to seek out to someone who knows something about this, and that was you. But as we had our prep talk, I was so inspired by your ideas, everything that you do, that I decided to change the topic altogether. So we're really not talking about Estonia that much today, but more about education. So let's start by answering the question, who is Märt Aro?
So I'm an education innovator, and I've been working on education development from my perspective for a very long time. And we've been doing indeed many different things, starting from large youth conferences where we invite the best speakers possible to inspire young people in the secondary school level to find their path in life. We've published some books in similar topics. We've built a university admissions management platform to help young people to go to study abroad and to gain international experience through this. So a lot of different things have been done. From the recent years, my focus has been on empowering people that have ideas of how to make something better in education. And we started to discuss that there is quite a few different approaches for improving something in education and learning. And maybe let's look at some of them just to have a better understanding. So one of the ways that I see people starting to work on education development is purely enthusiasm based. So people are coming together and thinking that, hey, let's make this better in education. And very often with this enthusiasm, really cool stuff is being made. But what I see far too often also is that, unfortunately, our societal agreement is that we all have to pay our bills and buy food for our families. So sometimes or very often these teams end up with a situation where they understand that, hey, I cannot contribute anymore into this education project here. I need to go to do some real work to pay my bills. So then you come to the second most common option, which is what we call grant-based innovation of education, where large organizations or governments are giving out funding to teams that would like to improve something in education. And the challenge with this approach is that education innovation usually is more complicated than you can imagine. And what I see is that very often the teams that are starting to work on something in education development, they will get to results where kids or teachers love the solutions, because this is the goal. This should be the goal, that we make so good improvements in education that people love to use them or love to take advantage of these opportunities. And it can take 4 or 5 years easily to get to this kind of level where people love these solutions. And unfortunately, the grant funding very often is 1 year or maximum 3 years. And also, it's very difficult to predict exactly how much money you need, what kind of team exactly you need before you start to work on the initiative. So what happens very often with grant-based projects is that they end up in the colleague from the education of the Ministry of Education in Estonia phrased it, coined it, the graveyard of projects. So
wow.
So yeah, and unfortunately, there is very little impact in the quality of education if somebody is putting a lot of work in developing a project, but it doesn't reach to the students because it runs out of cash before it has a possibility to have a significant impact on the learners level. This is what I'm actually focusing on a lot, to see, are we actually getting some kind of quality difference from the learner's perspective? And then there is, let's say, the newest approach is what I like to call the startup model for innovating education. And this is happening this way, that people come together, again, enthusiasm-based, but they straight away think that, hey, maybe we could build something scalable and sustainable at the same time that will have an improvement in the quality of learning or supporting teachers or supporting schools. And basically, these two principles are worth special introduction. So the principle of scalability means that it's okay to start from one classroom or from one student to develop a new way of learning or teaching for them. For example, very often I'm bringing this idea of having a special methodology for teaching hyperactive children how to learn multiplication table.
Oh,
So
wow.
you can easily imagine that this is a problem that almost all math teachers have. They have very active kids, and they might benefit from having a special methodology to support these children. But now the question is there somebody there who would be willing to come up with a very good solution or a new methodology to do this? And probably there is, if we look at the whole world. And now the principle of scalability means that if we come to a good solution, then we can give it out also to other people, not only to our children in this one school. So the neighboring school in the neighboring village might also benefit from this solution. Or maybe the school from on the other side of the world might also benefit from this new methodology. So, and if we keep this in mind straight away from the beginning, when we start working on a new initiative, it's very likely that it's going to be possible later to use this solution by other people. The second principle is principle of sustainability, which at its minimum means that when we start to build a new innovation in education, then we would keep in mind that at one moment in time, let's say in 2, 3, 4 years, we will become financially self-sustainable. So we'll have enough income that we can pay fair salaries to the people that we need to maintain a high quality service. And why I want to stress the high quality here, because I see far too many solutions in education that are average quality. And then my question is, do we actually, as parents, want average quality education opportunities for our children? And the answer is definitely no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
We want the best quality possible. And I can assure you that with using digital opportunities for scaling these new innovations and methodologies, it is possible to provide super high quality personalized learning opportunities to absolutely every child in the world. actually already today it would be possible. We just need to start systematically working around making sure that people that have these amazing ideas of how to make education better would be empowered to make these ideas into tangible solutions for learners and teachers to benefit.
Okay, you are very, very humble, because my question was about you. How did you become you? And you immediately just jumped into the solutions and the problems and the education part. So clearly you are very motivation driven. You are enthusiastic. You described the 3 models, and one of them is the enthusiasm driven model, where people just love this topic. And apparently you are one of those people. I want to continue on the startup, on this the scalable ed tech. So I'm assuming you're talking about technical solutions in the startup world. And if they are VC funded, if they are risk investment funded, who is the paying customer? And the reason why I'm asking is, whenever I am mentoring startup companies, if they have a business model where their paying customer is a highly regulated, bureaucratic organization, I kind of get nervous. I'm not sure if that's a great business model. So how do you reconcile this?
This is a really good question, and I'd really want to stress that technology here is just a tool. And actually, what I'm usually liking to talk about is a bunch of different things around education and learning, and starting from the philosophy of learning, how we approach education at all. And I would argue that nowadays we are having the approach of, let's say, essentialism-based philosophy, which means that we are teaching children from basically top down. So we know what's best for the children, and the kids themselves don't really know what is good for them. And this approach is very much challenged by what I call, it's actually the official name, it's a democratic education movement. So, and now democratic education is looking at the aspect that it's possible to indeed involve children in decision making about what and how and when they should study, and how it is the most effective for them. Yes, so technology is just a tool to achieve the scalability of these innovations, because when we develop a new methodology for teaching or learning something, then the question is how to convey this methodology in the most effective way to the ones in need. And technology can be a really tremendous asset there. For example, we can record videos to explainers about things, and actually this could be the only technical part of the whole methodology, just to have explainer videos of how to use this methodology to achieve great results. And because what we can see is that if you have a very good methodology, but you are using it wrongly, you're not using it correctly enough to achieve the good results that this methodology is meant to provide you, then you might come out with a poorer outcome than with using a poorer quality methodology that you are very familiar with. So answering your question now from the startup side and VC funding side, then indeed today the current ecosystem for education isn't foreseeing the possibility that we would have small innovative teams working on new ways of developing something about education. So the ecosystem hasn't foreseen a place for this to happen. And actually, this is only possible that we have these innovative teams thanks to new technologies that are coming out there. Actually, I need to correct myself. Some things you can do also without the technologies, but the technology often helps. So together with the Estonian Ministry of Education, we have noticed this, that there is these new opportunities out there that we can empower individual innovators to come up with better ways of learning or teaching or supporting the school system, or also supporting the specialists in education system. For example, supporting the speech therapists or school psychologists or people like this. And there is really amazing solutions also coming out in all of these niches that as a normal parent, you might never think about that there is even a need for this kind of solution out there. But indeed, what I'm seeing is that the current way that the school systems are purchasing solutions are not really effective in supporting innovators. And this is a big topic that we have been working on, and I hope that there will be solutions tested out or piloted in some countries across Europe and maybe also beyond.
Could it be the parents paying for it?
Well, in today's context, the innovators in education need to be super innovative also when it comes to business models developed. So I've seen very unusual business models being developed to come up with a better quality learning opportunity for the children. And indeed, it could be parents, it could be some other stakeholders. Last time we discussed, I brought the example of Kahoot, where the main customer or the paying customer is actually corporations that use this learning solution to do corporate training. And actually from there, I think 90% of the income of the company is coming. And actually the main user of the solution are teachers who pay almost nothing or like a small free. So there, I believe they have freemium model. I haven't checked in the recent years. In the beginning, it was totally for free for teachers.
That's fantastic. I want to ask you, so you mentioned the democratic education methodology. You're also a co-founder of Nordic EdTech Forum, NATE, N8, how do you?
N8, yes.
N8. That's a Nordic forum, and when you said democratic education methodology, that sounds very Nordic to me. Are you guys in the forum, the innovators in education? Are you talking about these methodologies there?
So the democratic education is philosophy, or how we view learning at all, and what kind of right the students or the teachers have, and what we are expecting from the teachers and learners. And according to my knowledge, there indeed have been historically Northern Europeans. Actually, an Estonian gentleman in the 1920s was also contributing to the democratic education development. So it's more than 100 years old movement actually in education development.
Oh,
but it has not been very popularized because I believe in the industrial era, the current education system worked very well, and it provided the wealth of the nations that we see today. So I always like to remind people that the industrial system has been super beneficial for the countries and also for the average person, because today the average person is obviously living a better life than a king in the Middle Ages because of access to a wealth of different services, and of course medicine being probably the most critical of them, that enables people to have a much more fulfilling life. And of course, I hope that people remind themselves to be thankful and grateful about these things.
That's a good point.
Going to the Nordic EdTech Forum. So this is an association of innovators in education in the Northern Europe. And we have people from 8 countries, mostly who are founders of startups in education. And this was the first organization that I co-founded for supporting the innovators in education. And the reason was very simple. At this time, in 2016, we didn't have really an opportunity to meet that easily across the country borders. And in smaller countries, there was very few teams that were working based on the startup model in education development. And what it looked like was more like people sitting in dark rooms themselves and trying to make something better in education. But it became very clear that if you're able to meet with like-minded people and share your ideas, kind of beautiful cross-pollination happens, and actually the quality of ideas is becoming better, and the hope of getting better quality solutions for teachers and learners is also increasing. So having this kind of associations, which really main goal is to bring the stakeholders together and make friends and start peer-to-peer mentor each other, then this has a very positive impact. And I also feel that it becomes kind of, so if you're working on a hard challenge and you're struggling day on and then it's really nice to meet with people sometimes that have chosen to work with similarly hard challenges, and then at least you can complain to each other about how everything is. And
yeah Yeah.
support each other in this sense.
It's such an important job that you're doing. My final question is, you're on your own startup, the Dream Apply. Tell us how that got started, what you guys are doing there.
So the Dream Apply is the mission of enabling access to high quality education to everybody globally as well. And the dream was for me, so I've always been looking at how can we increase the quality of learning, quality of education. And I did an internship in 2002 in Belgium. And on the road back from there to Estonia, I was like, wow, every young person should have this opportunity to go abroad and learn something. And because it's just massively broadening your horizons when you're doing that as a young person. Because in addition to just learning the academic things, you're also having this massive cultural learning experience. And what I still remember very clearly was that I was thinking that I will learn about Belgian culture and I will learn French language when I was starting to go to this internship. But I actually learned about Estonian culture and understood much better context that I'm coming from and how differently we see the world. Actually, well, the difference is all in the details because the countries obviously are pretty similar, but there is so many of these details where these minor differences are very interesting to see this. And I believe it's very crucial, especially to Americans who are your main listeners, that how important it is to go out and to see the world and to see that actually a large part of the world is maybe even having a better life quality than the US. So this inspired me that we need to start a company to support this dream of young people going to study abroad. And that's why the name of the company is called Dream Apply. So it started from a very small dream. And nowadays we are supporting millions of young people with having a more transparent way of looking at universities pretty globally. So Dream Apply is implemented by more than 300 universities from across 40 different countries. And it's amazing. For example, it might be very difficult to believe for American students or parents that in Europe there is quite a few countries where you can study almost for free or absolutely for free.
Yes.
For example, you can get a very high level and recognized education in Estonia, paying only, I don't know, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 euros a year for the whole education. So compared to the American pricing, it is almost for free.
Watch out, you're going to have an avalanche of American students coming to Estonia after this.
I believe that the Estonian universities will be happy to take a few Americans. Not too many probably, but a few hundred for sure. But Estonia is only one example. There is very many of these opportunities out there. And because there is the universities in Europe don't market themselves very much. And hence it's very important that we would improve the quality of the let's say the processes for admissions. And that's what was exactly our dream, that we will make it so understandable. I can of course explain the whole backstory there. It can be a little bit strange for people that have never looked at university admissions. But for example, in each university, there is usually 3 or 4 different regulations that they have to follow for international students' admissions. So there is in Europe, we have European Union candidates, then we have the local candidates, then we have friendly countries candidates, and then we have the rest of the world. And each of these candidates have to follow a little bit different regulations. And it can be really overwhelming as a young person if you're like 17, 18, maybe 19 years old and considering to go to a foreign country. You have no idea what's expected, what you can expect there. And then you have this university websites that have you overloaded with information of which most of is not relevant for you at all. Mm-hmm. And then to make the difference, okay, mm-hmm. what rules I have to follow now here? And Dream Apply magically makes it all very streamlined outlined and clear and offers the information in kind of reasonable packages at reasonable time. So that's one of the reasons why, for example, I've met students on the street who said that, hey, Mark, I'm really thankful that you bothered to build this software with your team, because it was making it possible for me to understand how I can actually enter these universities. And because of the transparency of the admission process, I'm here now. And I'm super happy for this. And some students have been so inspired that they have written their master's thesis about how DreamApply is helping the students from less fortunate families to actually have access to super good quality education.
Such important job you're doing. This is truly wonderful. Märt Aro, thank you for joining Deep Pockets today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
You've listened to Deep Pockets by Petra Söderling. To subscribe to content and to pre-order the book Governments and Innovation, The Economic Developer's Guide to Our Future, please go to petrasoderling.com. The wonderful music you heard is by Leroy Jones, an iconic New Orleans Jazz Hall of Fame trumpetist. You can find this and other Leroy Jones tunes at your favorite online or offline music store. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe, like, rate, and share our episodes. It means a lot to me. Thank you.